And I am more than thrilled to have as a guest this morning favorite senator, Senator Tammy Baldwin of Wisconsin. And before we get into this, Senator Baldwin, what was once a marathon is now a sprint. How are you holding up as we move towards in the last 2 weeks of the campaign?
I am holding up because I'm traveling all over the state. And, I do that as a senator, but I also do it as a candidate. And the people of this state are keeping me fired up. And, it's just an incredible opportunity to meet voters where they are. Certainly reminding everybody of the importance of having their voices heard by voting. And early voting, by the way, has started already. So people can bank their vote today and then help get other people out to vote through Election Day. But yeah, people of the state are inspiring me.
It was so good to see you the other day. I guess I wanted to make sure that I wore my woke hat this morning to make people aware that I'm very much woke as it relates to what's happening with you and your campaign. Let me begin by talking about immigration. Your opponent seems to think that the way to solve immigration is to shut down the border. Is it that simple?
Well, it's not that simple. And this is an issue where we had strong solutions within reach of bipartisan agreement in the Congress early this year. And let me just tell you a couple components of the bill we put together. But this was a bipartisan effort. And the one provision was adding 1,500 Border Patrol agents. That's something the U.S. Border Patrol has been asking for, and they, in fact, endorsed the bill to increase the manpower on the southern border. But the other that's so important as we struggle with the fentanyl epidemic and opioid epidemic generally is this bill included the deployment of sophisticated technology that allows us to screen every vehicle that comes through our southern port of entries. And this is particularly important because right now they kind of either randomly pick vehicles for manual inspection, or they, some vehicle that's suspicious, they'll take it. But that only gets us a small fraction of the ability to interdict the fentanyl that's coming in through our southern border. And fentanyl is killing thousands, tens of thousands across the United States. So this is something very serious. So had we passed that bill in the spring, as was intended, we would already have those Border Patrol agents. We would already have this technology being deployed. But you may recall that Donald Trump basically told the Republicans in the Senate and in the House, vote against this because I want an issue to run on. I don't want a solution. And my opponent just joined into that chorus. And, you heard during our debate, he said, no, I wouldn't have voted for that bill. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to come together. A lot of folks have criticized the administration. I certainly think the administration could have done more. However, every time the administration acts with some sort of executive order, the day after they're in court trying to defend that the executive had the authority to do what the executive did. And so really it screams for congressional action. And it was so angering, so frustrating that the Republicans blocked this very strong bipartisan border deal that we had reached this past spring.
Senator Baldwin, you just said something that I don't think many Americans know anything about. And you talked about most of the fentanyl is coming in through cars coming across the border. We're led to believe, if we listen to Republicans, that it's immigrants who are carrying fentanyl across the border themselves. That tells me if vehicles are coming across, many of those vehicles are being driven by American citizens.
Certainly that is the case, and they have seen that as when you talk to the law enforcement at the border, they're seeing that as a growing trend. American citizens being, cooperating with the Mexican drug cartel and bringing them in. And it's really important that we understand, frankly, the supply chain for fentanyl. If we're going to do a better job of interdicting it and bringing an end to this scourge that's killing way too many Americans, way too many Wisconsinites. But it's Chinese companies that make the precursor chemicals that ultimately make the synthetic opioid fentanyl. And so we have to look at sanctioning those companies that make the precursor chemicals, watching how they get those precursor chemicals into Mexico. So working with the Mexican government to better secure their ports of entry, whether those be maritime ports, air, flying things in, or however they're getting them there. And then the Mexican drug cartel, of course, is making these fake pills, these illegal pills. They look like they might be Percocet or Adderall, but they're mixed with fentanyl, and one pill can kill. I like to repeat that because I think a lot of people don't understand. And then, if we're taking an all hands on deck approach, and I know I'm pivoting a little bit from the border, but we also need to do much more prevention in the United States, reminding people that one pill can kill, and then getting the overdose reversal drug, Narcan and naloxone, deployed throughout our communities. In college dormitories, in places where you would see a defibrillator or a fire extinguisher. We should also have Narcan, because all of those things save people's lives. But I do get a little bit away from the border. I do want to say that, people say, aren't they being snuck in, away from the regular ports of entry? And yes, some of the fentanyl does come in those ways. But our Border Patrol tells us that about 90% of the illicit fentanyl comes right through our ports of entry. And so if they are more secure, we will have less fentanyl because we'll be able to interdict it.
So your opponent says inflation is because you guys, Democrats, are spending too much money. You say what to that?
Well, first of all, certainly inflation happened because our supply chains got all screwed up in the pandemic. And, first thing I ever learned in economics class was the law of supply and demand. If you have a very short supply but a huge demand, the price goes up. There's like a bidding war. And I think about all the things that became in short supply during the pandemic. Toilet paper, right? We all need it. We were all trying to get it. And the price shot up. And that happened with so many things during the pandemic. But what I want to say to my opponent about spending, he talks a good game, but when it comes down to it, he supports spending $4 trillion on new tax cuts for the very wealthy like himself and big corporations. I consider it like the Trump tax cuts 2.0, $4 trillion. He's for spending, just not for you. And then how would he justify that? With drastic cuts to other programs that we rely on, including Medicare and Social Security. And he doesn't like it when I say that, but he has just endorsed a plan that would reset spending to levels of the last decade. And then if you look at what we were spending on Social Security and Medicare back then compared to what we're spending now, it's on average about a $6,000 cut for somebody who's relying on Social Security. And he's trying to run away from that. But that's the plan he has unfolded. And we got to be very aware that he is for spending, just not for you.
So I want to hurry up and try to get this last one in,
yes.
Because you've got a very busy schedule. But he now believes in abortion, that women have a right early on to choose. Is that something that's new? I mean, it's not what he's always believed in.
Well, clearly back in 2012, when he last ran for U.S. Senate, he said he was 100% opposed to abortion rights. And yes, he has announced some new positions, but nonetheless, he still supports the Dobbs decision, which overturned Roe v. Wade. And what does that mean for Wisconsin? It means that a law passed in 1849, widely viewed as a criminal abortion ban, is the law of the land in our state. Now, since the Dobbs decision came down, there have now been services resumed in 3 counties in the state of Wisconsin. That means that 69 counties still live under that criminal abortion ban passed in 1849. And Eric Hovde owns that. If he agrees with the Dobbs decision, no matter what he thinks we might do, right now, there are no services available. Your rights and freedoms depend on the zip code and the state that you live in, and that should never be the case. Our rights and freedoms are fundamental, and they should be, you should have them wherever you live. Eric Hovde disagrees with that.
Senator Baldwin, as an aside, the last couple seconds that we have with you, I want to tell you that in my community, I was so proud. The lines were blocks long for early voting. The last time I saw that was President Barack Obama running. So I just wanted to let you know I am thrilled. The excitement in our community is riveting.
That is so great. And by the way, President Obama was in the state yesterday to remind us of how important our voices are and our votes are.
Well, congratulations on running a great campaign. I'm looking forward to seeing another 4 years of Senator Tammy Baldwin.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, as always. Great to have the senator on.